Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment that you are surrounded by complete silence. Not a sound, no buzzing of phones, no chattering voices, no background noise, just pure silence. Now, I know what you're thinking, how can that be powerful? Silence is a form of communication, and it's one that we often overlook or misunderstand. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with noise from the chatter of others, the endless stream of media, the constant notifications on our phones, it can be easy to forget that silence itself has a language all its own. We tend to think of communication only in terms of spoken words, body language, or even the messages we send through social media. But silence, when wielded correctly, can be just as powerful as any word we say. Silence often speaks louder than words. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you been in a conversation where someone's silence held more meaning than anything they could have said? Whether it was a pause that conveyed hesitation, a thoughtful quiet that showed someone was processing information, or a moment of stillness that communicated disapproval or discomfort, silence often provides context in ways that words cannot. When we are silent, we have the opportunity to choose not to fill every gap with noise. It forces us to be present and aware. A person who masters the art of silence understands that not every moment requires a response. Sometimes the most effective thing you can do in a conversation is to listen and absorb without immediately offering your own opinion or response. In that stillness, you might find yourself understanding the other person on a deeper level, noticing things that would have otherwise gone unnoticed if you were too quick to speak. In a heated discussion or debate, silence can be used strategically. Instead of firing back with an emotional reaction or a quick retort, you might remain silent for a few seconds, allowing the other person's words to settle. In those moments of silence, the emotional charge of the conversation can dissipate, and it gives you time to think clearly, to assess the situation, and to respond more thoughtfully. Often this pause attention to ease, and it can change the entire dynamic of the conversation. Silence, in this sense, becomes a tool for conflict resolution rather than escalation. But silence is not just about holding back words in moments of conflict. It's also a powerful way to communicate in relationships. Think of the times when we are truly comfortable with another person, not necessarily because of the things we say, but because of the ease and comfort we feel simply being in each other's presence without the need for constant chatter. In these moments, silence becomes a shared experience, an unspoken understanding between two people. It communicates a sense of trust and intimacy that words often fail to convey. In the professional world, silence can also be a powerful tool for leaders. A great leader doesn't feel the need to speak constantly to prove their authority. In fact, silence can sometimes be the most commanding presence in a room. Think of a leader who, when faced with a difficult situation, pauses to consider their next move. Their silence speaks volumes, conveying confidence and the ability to think strategically. Silence in leadership is a sign of strength because it shows restraint and patience, qualities that are invaluable when making important decisions. A leader who can stay silent in the face of pressure demonstrates their emotional intelligence, knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to observe. Silence has the ability to create space for clarity and insight. In our busy, noisy world, it's easy to become overwhelmed with information. We're constantly consuming, reacting, and processing data. But silence allows us to disconnect from this constant flow and reconnect with our own thoughts and inner wisdom. In those moments of quiet, the noise of the outside world fades, and we are able to think more deeply and critically. Our most creative ideas, our best insights, and our greatest breakthroughs often come when we give ourselves the permission to sit in silence and reflect. It's in these quiet moments that we hear our own voice, separate from the distractions around us, guiding us toward the answers we need. Silence provides us with an opportunity for growth. It challenges us to become more self-aware and conscious of our emotions and reactions. When we're silent, we have to confront ourselves. We can no longer hide behind our words or distractions. Silence forces us to sit with our thoughts and emotions and examine them for what they truly are. This self-exploration is a powerful tool for personal development because it allows us to understand our motivations, our desires, and even our fears. It is in silence that we find the space to process our experiences and learn from them. Silence is not empty. It is full of potential. It holds the power to connect us with others, to help us understand ourselves better, and to guide us in making more thoughtful decisions. When we learn to embrace silence, we unlock a deeper layer of communication, one that goes beyond words and taps into something more profound. Silence is not a void, it is a presence, a force that shapes the way we interact with the world and with each other. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where silence is an option, embrace it. Don't view it as awkward or uncomfortable. Instead, recognize its power and let it speak for you. Silence is a powerful tool for reflection, offering us the space to connect with our inner selves and assess our thoughts and feelings. In a world that's constantly in motion, with an endless flood of distractions from the constant buzz of notifications to the barrage of information in our daily lives, finding time to be still and quiet can feel like a luxury. But silence, when embraced, becomes a sanctuary for deep reflection, and it's in those quiet moments that we often experience profound insights and clarity. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, both external and internal, it becomes incredibly difficult to hear our own thoughts. We often find ourselves moving through life on autopilot, reacting to situations without fully understanding why we feel a certain way or why we make certain decisions. But when we step into silence, we create an opportunity to pause and reflect on what's happening within us. Silence gives us the chance to ask ourselves the tough questions and really listen to the answers. In these moments of quiet, we might come face to face with emotions we've been avoiding or truths we've been reluctant to confront. Maybe it's a sense of dissatisfaction with the direction our life is headed, or a feeling of discomfort about a decision we've made. Often we fill the noise around us to avoid these uncomfortable emotions because confronting them can be painful. But silence, by removing the distractions, gives us the opportunity to look inward and process what we're really feeling. It forces us to face ourselves, to confront our fears, desires, and weaknesses, and in doing so, we often come away with a greater understanding of who we are and what we truly want. Reflection through silence also helps us gain perspective. When we're caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, it's easy to get lost in the noise of our thoughts and emotions. We can become overwhelmed by stress, by the pressures of work, relationships, or personal challenges. But when we step back into silence, we gain distance from the intensity of those feelings. This distance allows us to look at our circumstances more objectively, to see the bigger picture and understand things in a new light. It's like stepping out of the storm and into a place of calm, where we can assess the situation with a clearer mind and a more open heart. Silence also provides the space for us to evaluate our choices and make more thoughtful decisions. We live in an era of constant decision-making, where every day presents us with countless options and choices. Whether it's deciding on our career path, managing our relationships, or simply figuring out how to spend our time, these decisions can feel overwhelming. When we rush into decisions without giving ourselves time to reflect, we may find that we're making choices based on fear, pressure, or external expectations rather than on what is best for us. But in the silence, we can hear our own voice, the one that isn't drowned out by the noise of others or by the pressure to conform. This quiet allows us to connect with our deepest values and desires. It helps us make decisions that are aligned with who we truly are, not who we think we should be. By taking the time to be still, we give ourselves the opportunity to check in with our hearts and minds, to ask, what is it that I really want, or is this the right path for me? When we make decisions from a place of quiet reflection, we are more likely to move in a direction that brings fulfillment and peace. Silence provides us with a chance to evaluate our progress. Life moves fast, and it's easy to get caught up in the rush without taking the time to step back and assess where we've been and where we're going. Silence offers us the space to reflect on our journey, to look at the goals we've set, and to ask ourselves if we're moving toward them with intention. It allows us to measure our growth, to see where we've succeeded, and to identify areas where we might need to make changes or improvements. This reflection helps us recalibrate our course and ensures that we stay aligned with our values and long-term vision. In relationships, silence also plays a crucial role in reflection. Often we get so caught up in the noise of everyday interactions, talking, arguing, trying to be heard, that we forget to reflect on the dynamics between us and others. Silence allows us to step back and observe how we engage with those around us, whether it's a partner, a friend, or a colleague. In these moments of quiet, we can assess how we are showing up in the relationship, what we might be contributing, and whether there are any unspoken tensions or misunderstandings that need to be addressed. Silence also offers the space to reflect on how others make us feel, whether we feel heard and understood, and how we can communicate better in the future. Silence is not just the absence of sound, but a form of active listening. It's listening to ourselves, to our emotions, to our desires, and to the deeper truths that we may have been ignoring. It's a space where we can hear the quiet whisper of our inner wisdom, and in that quiet, we can find the answers we've been searching for. It's in the stillness that we find the opportunity for growth, healing, and transformation. In a world that is constantly demanding our attention, silence becomes a powerful ally in our journey of self-awareness and self-discovery. It offers us the chance to pause, reflect, and find clarity in the midst of the chaos. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or uncertain, don't be afraid to embrace the silence. It may just be the space you need to find the answers you're seeking and the peace you deserve. Silence is a discipline, and like any discipline, it requires effort, practice, and intentionality. In a world where we are constantly surrounded by noise, whether from the media, social pressures, or the endless chatter in our minds, being silent is not as easy as it might seem. We are conditioned to speak, to fill the gaps in conversations, and to react immediately to the world around us. But silence, when practiced deliberately, becomes a powerful tool for self-control and personal growth. It's about choosing when to speak and, more importantly, when not to. The discipline of silence starts with the awareness that not every moment requires a verbal response. Often we find ourselves speaking simply because we feel the pressure to fill the space, to keep the conversation moving, or to be seen as engaged and active. But the truth is, speaking without purpose can dilute the impact of our words. In contrast, the ability to remain silent in moments where words are unnecessary or even harmful can elevate our communication and deepen our relationships. In conversations, there is often an unspoken urge to fix things with our words, to offer advice, or to provide reassurance. But sometimes the most meaningful contribution we can make is simply being present and allowing space for the other person to speak and process their own thoughts. This requires a high level of self-discipline, knowing when to hold back and when to listen. We live in a world where everyone is talking, but how often do we really listen? How often do we allow others the space to express themselves without jumping in with our own opinions? When we practice the discipline of silence, we not only allow others to be heard, but we also create an environment where they feel safe to open up without judgment. This restraint extends beyond our interactions with others and into our personal decision-making. In moments of stress or uncertainty, it can be incredibly difficult to stay silent and not react impulsively. We are often driven by our emotions, anger, frustration, fear, and the natural instinct is to express those feelings immediately. However, silence allows us to pause and reflect. It helps us break the cycle of knee-jerk reactions, giving us the opportunity to respond with clarity and purpose rather than being swept away by our emotions. The discipline of silence helps us remain grounded in the face of pressure, and it strengthens our emotional intelligence. Instead of acting on impulse, we become more thoughtful in how we approach challenges, taking the time to assess the situation and choose a more measured response. A key element of this discipline is the ability to be comfortable with quiet moments. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly bombarded by stimuli. Whether it's the constant barrage of information on our devices or the noise in our surroundings, it's easy to become uncomfortable with silence. Many people feel the need to fill every moment with activity or conversation because they fear the discomfort of stillness. But there is a profound strength in being able to sit in silence without feeling the urge to escape it. The ability to embrace silence without distraction is a reflection of self-mastery. It demonstrates that you are not dependent on external noise to feel validated or fulfilled. This discipline allows us to tune out the distractions and focus on what truly matters: our thoughts, our values, and our goals. The discipline of silence also applies to our internal dialogue. We all have that constant voice in our heads that runs a never-ending commentary on everything we do, think, and experience. This internal noise can be just as overwhelming as the external noise that surrounds us. It's easy to get lost in our own thoughts, to overthink situations or obsess over the things we cannot control. But by practicing silence both externally and internally, we create a space of calm where our thoughts can settle and we can think more clearly. This mental discipline is crucial for decision-making, problem-solving, and emotional well-being. It allows us to distinguish between the noise of our fears and anxieties and the clarity of our true thoughts and desires. In relationships, the discipline of silence can be incredibly powerful. Silence doesn't mean disengagement or avoidance, it means being present and mindful in the moment. In difficult conversations, staying silent gives you the time to listen deeply, to fully understand the other person's perspective before responding. Sometimes the other person just needs to be heard, and your silence speaks volumes. It shows them that you are listening, that you are present, and that you respect what they have to say. In those moments, silence can strengthen the bond between two people far more than any words ever could. Learning to use silence as a discipline also means knowing when it's time to break the silence with purpose. The power of silence is not just about withholding words for the sake of restraint, it's about choosing to speak when the moment is right. When you speak after practicing silence, your words carry more weight. People will listen more attentively because they understand that you don't speak lightly. They will know that when you do offer your thoughts, they come from a place of reflection and intention. Silence enhances the value of your speech because it ensures that your words are well thought out, meaningful, and impactful. As you begin to practice the discipline of silence, you'll notice its profound impact on your life. It helps you make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and communicate more effectively. It enhances your emotional intelligence and gives you the ability to stay calm and centered even in the most challenging situations. But perhaps most importantly, the discipline of silence brings you closer to the truth, not just the truth of the world around you, but the truth of who you are, what you want, and what you stand for. It's in the silence that you find the clarity to live a more intentional, purposeful life. And that is a discipline worth cultivating. Silence is an incredible tool for listening. And it's in the art of listening that we often uncover the deepest truths, not just about others, but about ourselves. In a world where conversations can quickly become a series of interruptions and responses, the value of truly listening is often overlooked. But listening is not simply hearing words, it's about being present, absorbing the message, and understanding what is being communicated on a deeper level. Silence is essential to this process, as it allows us to fully engage with what is being said and to respond with intentionality and thoughtfulness. We are often in such a rush to speak, to express our own thoughts and opinions, that we forget the importance of listening. Every conversation seems like an opportunity to assert ourselves, to share what we know, or to offer advice. But what we don't realize is that, in doing so, we may be missing out on crucial information that could change our perspective or deepen our understanding of a situation. Listening requires more than just passive hearing. It requires focus, attention, and most importantly, silence. It's in those moments of quiet that we allow the other person's words to sink in and truly grasp their meaning. Silence, then, becomes a bridge between speaker and listener, a moment of pause that enables understanding to occur. Effective listening is one of the most valuable skills in building strong relationships, both personally and professionally. When we listen attentively, we show respect for the other person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. By silencing our own thoughts and refraining from interjecting, we create a space where the other person feels truly heard. This is especially important in difficult or emotionally charged conversations, where it's easy to let our own emotions take over and steer the direction of the dialogue. When we practice silence in these moments, we allow the other person to express themselves fully, without the pressure of immediate judgment or response. We give them the time and space to process their own thoughts and feelings, and that can be incredibly healing. But silence doesn't just improve our ability to listen to others, it also enhances our ability to listen to ourselves. In a world filled with noise, it's easy to lose touch with our own inner voice. We may become so focused on external influences, the opinions of others, societal expectations, or the constant stream of information, that we forget to check in with our own thoughts, desires, and values. Silence, when practiced intentionally, helps us reconnect with ourselves. It creates the space for self-reflection and introspection, allowing us to hear our own thoughts more clearly and make decisions that align with our true selves. Listening in silence also enhances our emotional intelligence. In conversations, we often react impulsively to what is being said, especially when the words trigger an emotional response. Whether we feel anger, frustration, or excitement, our immediate instinct may be to respond with our own emotions. But silence gives us the time to pause, to reflect on what we're hearing, and to respond with empathy and understanding. It allows us to separate our emotional reactions from the actual message being communicated. This ability to listen without being swept away by our emotions is a key aspect of emotional intelligence, and it helps us build stronger, more resilient relationships. In the professional world, listening is just as important, if not more so, than speaking. A good leader understands the power of listening not just to provide direction, but to learn from others, gain insights, and make better decisions. By practicing silence in leadership, a person demonstrates humility and openness to feedback. Leaders who listen well are able to connect with their teams, understand their needs, and foster an environment of trust and collaboration. Silence, in this context, is a form of strength. It shows that the leader values input and recognizes that they do not have all the answers. It creates a space for innovation and creativity, as team members feel empowered to share their ideas and perspectives without fear of interruption or dismissal. Listening also plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. In moments of disagreement, it's easy to focus on defending our own viewpoint, trying to prove that we're right and the other person is wrong. But silence in these situations can diffuse tension and create an opportunity for mutual understanding. By remaining silent, we allow the other person to fully express their side of the story, which can lead to a deeper understanding of their perspective. Often, what feels like a conflict is simply a misunderstanding, and by listening carefully, we can bridge the gap between differing viewpoints. Silence, in this case, is not passive, it's an active choice to focus on understanding rather than winning. Listening and silence can help us to cultivate patience. In today's fast-paced world, we're often in such a hurry to solve problems or respond to challenges that we don't take the time to fully listen to what's being said. We may interrupt, assume we know what the other person means, or jump to conclusions before hearing the whole story. Silence forces us to slow down. It teaches us to be patient, to wait until we have all the information before reacting. This patience allows us to make more informed, thoughtful decisions, and prevents us from making hasty judgments that could lead to misunderstandings or mistakes. Silence is a tool for listening, but it is also a tool for understanding. When we listen in silence, we give ourselves the gift of clarity about the other person's needs, feelings, and perspectives, as well as clarity about our own. In silence, we are able to tune in to the deeper layers of communication that go beyond words. We begin to pick up on nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, body language, or even the unspoken emotions that accompany the words being spoken. These nuances are often the key to truly understanding the message and connecting with others on a deeper level. Silence, in essence, is the foundation of effective listening. It's through the practice of silence that we are able to listen deeply, to empathize, and to build stronger, more meaningful connections with those around us. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or moments of self-reflection, silence allows us to hear more clearly, think more deeply, and act with greater purpose. It's in the stillness that the most powerful insights are often found. Silence is an incredible tool for self-awareness, offering us the opportunity to step away from the noise of the world and truly examine our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to get lost in external expectations, societal pressures, and the constant flow of information that surrounds us. But silence creates a space where we can pause and connect with our inner selves, allowing us to gain a deeper understanding of who we are and what we truly want from life. Self-awareness is often described as the ability to look inward and honestly assess our thoughts, emotions, and actions. However, in a world that is constantly demanding our attention, it's difficult to slow down long enough to engage in this level of introspection. We're so busy reacting to what's going on around us that we don't often take the time to consider how we feel about it or why we're reacting the way we are. Silence, when practiced intentionally, helps us create that space for reflection. It's in those quiet moments that we can step outside of our own mental chatter and really ask ourselves important questions like, what am I feeling right now, or what is driving my decisions? In moments of silence, we are forced to confront our thoughts and emotions without the distractions of the outside world. This can be uncomfortable at first because it often means facing the things we've been avoiding or suppressing. Maybe we don't want to acknowledge our fears, insecurities, or unresolved issues, and so we fill our lives with noise to avoid facing them. But silence forces us to look at those things head on. By creating space to reflect, we give ourselves permission to experience whatever emotions come up, whether they are positive, negative, or somewhere in between. This act of reflection allows us to process our feelings, understand their source, and ultimately make better, more informed decisions going forward. In addition to helping us understand our emotions, silence allows us to gain clarity about our values, goals, and priorities. We live in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, asking us to prioritize work, social commitments, family obligations, and countless other demands. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters to us. Silence gives us the time to step back and reflect on what we truly want out of life, what our passions are, what our long-term goals are, and what we need to feel fulfilled. When we take the time to sit in silence, we can align ourselves with our true desires rather than simply reacting to external pressures. It's through this clarity that we can begin to make decisions that reflect who we are, rather than who we think we should be. The power of silence also lies in its ability to help us recognize patterns in our thoughts and behaviors. We all have unconscious habits, ways of thinking, reacting, or behaving that shape our lives, but we don't always take the time to notice them. Sometimes these patterns are positive and helpful, other times they are limiting or destructive. Silence provides us with the opportunity to step back and observe ourselves from a place of calm and detachment. By simply observing our thoughts without judgment, we can start to recognize patterns that may not be serving us. This self-awareness allows us to break free from those limiting beliefs or behaviors and make conscious, intentional choices moving forward. Self-awareness also extends to our relationships with others. Often we get so wrapped up in the opinions and expectations of those around us that we lose sight of our own needs and desires. Silence helps us reconnect with our own voice so we can better understand how we feel about the relationships in our lives. In the quiet, we can reflect on our interactions with others, consider whether our needs are being met, and assess whether we're showing up authentically in those relationships. Sometimes silence reveals things about our relationships that we may not have been willing to face, whether it's realizing that we've been overextending ourselves or that certain relationships are no longer serving us. By being honest with ourselves and allowing space for introspection, we can take the necessary steps to nurture healthy, fulfilling connections and let go of those that are draining or toxic. Silence also enables us to gain a deeper understanding of our strengths and weaknesses. We often spend so much time focused on what we should be doing or what others expect of us that we don't always take the time to recognize the unique qualities that make us who we are. When we are silent, we can reflect on our past experiences and the lessons we've learned along the way. We can recognize the areas where we've grown, the challenges we've overcome, and the things we've achieved. At the same time, silence gives us the opportunity to honestly assess where we still need to improve, whether it's developing new skills, working on emotional resilience, or addressing areas of vulnerability. Silence allows us to identify the areas in which we can continue to grow and evolve. In moments of self-awareness, we also gain the ability to forgive ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in self-criticism and regret, particularly when we feel like we've made mistakes or let ourselves down. But silence provides the space for self-compassion. In the stillness, we can acknowledge our flaws without judgment and recognize that growth is a continuous process. We can forgive ourselves for past errors and release the burden of guilt that often holds us back. This forgiveness is not an excuse for poor choices, but a recognition that we are all human and deserving of the grace to learn from our mistakes. Silence is a tool for self-awareness because it allows us to reconnect with ourselves on a deeper level. In a world that is often loud and chaotic, silence offers us the opportunity to slow down, reflect, and listen to our own thoughts and feelings. It helps us gain clarity about who we are, what we want, and how we can live more authentically. By embracing silence, we open the door to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the power to live intentionally and with purpose. The more we practice silence, the more in tune we become with our true selves, and the more we are able to navigate the world with confidence, clarity, and peace. The power of silence is not just a personal tool, it extends far beyond our own introspection and interpersonal communication, affecting the way we experience and interact with the world. Silence can significantly impact our mental and physical well-being. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information, noise, and distractions, often leaving us feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and mentally exhausted. The constant flood of stimuli can take a toll on our mental health, leading to burnout, anxiety, and even physical ailments. Silence, on the other hand, offers a moment of reprieve, a chance for rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. When we allow ourselves to step away from the constant noise of daily life and immerse ourselves in silence, we create an opportunity for our minds to reset. The mental chatter that fills our heads in the absence of silence can be exhausting. From the endless stream of to-do lists and worries about the future to the constant self-talk that tells us what we should or shouldn't be doing, our minds rarely find peace. Silence provides a break from this relentless internal noise. It creates the space to disengage from constant overthinking and to give our minds a chance to rest. The benefits of this mental rest are far-reaching. Just as our bodies need sleep to restore physical energy, our minds need silence to rejuvenate. Taking time for silence can improve concentration, enhance creativity, and restore mental clarity. In moments of quiet, we allow our thoughts to settle, which enables us to think more clearly and make more intentional decisions. The constant bombardment of external stimuli often leads to mental fatigue, making it difficult to focus on important tasks. Silence helps reduce this overload, allowing us to return to work or study with a fresh perspective and renewed energy. Silence is essential in reducing stress. In a world that seems to demand more and more of our time and attention, stress has become a common companion in our daily lives. Whether it's from work, personal relationships, or the overwhelming pace of modern society, stress is a major contributor to mental and physical health problems. Chronic stress can lead to anxiety, depression, heart disease, and a variety of other health issues. Silence offers a refuge, a way to disconnect from the stressors around us and give our bodies the chance to recover. When we allow ourselves to be still, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for our body's relaxation response. This process reduces our heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and helps calm our nervous system, providing relief from stress and promoting a sense of well-being. Silence also offers physical benefits by giving us the space to reconnect with our bodies. We often live so much in our minds that we forget to listen to our bodies. Whether it's the tension in our shoulders from sitting at a desk all day or the tightness in our chest when we're feeling anxious, our bodies constantly communicate with us, but we're often too distracted to notice. Silence allows us to tune in to these subtle signals. It helps us recognize when we're physically exhausted, when we need rest, or when we need to move. By creating moments of stillness, we become more aware of how our bodies are feeling and what they need, which can lead to healthier, more balanced lives. Another critical aspect of silence in relation to well-being is its ability to help us regulate our emotions. Emotions can often feel overwhelming, especially when we're caught up in the whirlwind of everyday life. Whether we're dealing with anger, frustration, sadness, or even joy, our emotional reactions can sometimes get the best of us. Silence gives us the space to process these emotions before they overwhelm us or cause us to react impulsively. Instead of reacting immediately to a stressful situation or letting our emotions dictate our actions, silence allows us to pause, reflect, and choose a more thoughtful response. This emotional regulation leads to better decision-making, improved relationships, and greater peace of mind. In addition to its mental and emotional benefits, silence can also enhance our connection to the world around us. Often we're so focused on our own thoughts and experiences that we fail to notice the beauty and richness of the world around us. Whether it's the sound of birds singing, the rustling of leaves in the wind, or the simple pleasure of a quiet moment in nature, silence allows us to appreciate life more fully. It helps us become more present in the moment, allowing us to engage with the world in a more mindful and grounded way. In a society that constantly pushes us to do more, achieve more, and experience more, silence invites us to simply be. When we embrace silence, we become more attuned to our surroundings and more aware of the small, yet profound, moments that make life meaningful. This enhanced connection to the world around us can foster a greater sense of gratitude and contentment. Instead of always seeking the next achievement or the next distraction, we learn to appreciate what is already present in our lives. Silence helps us cultivate mindfulness, which is a powerful tool for reducing stress and enhancing overall well-being. Silence allows us to reconnect with our spiritual selves. For many people, silence is an important part of their spiritual practices. Whether through meditation, prayer, or quiet reflection, silence provides the space to connect with a higher power, the universe, or simply the deeper parts of our own consciousness. In silence, we can reflect on our values, our purpose, and our connection to something greater than ourselves. It is in the stillness that we often find answers to life's most profound questions and gain insight into the path we should follow. Silence also plays a crucial role in helping us foster a sense of balance in our lives. In a world that demands constant action and constant engagement, silence teaches us the importance of rest. stillness, and reflection. It reminds us that our well-being is not just about what we do, but also about the space we create for ourselves to simply be. By integrating silence into our daily lives, we can achieve a greater sense of balance between activity and rest, engagement and disengagement, external demands and internal peace. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is a powerful tool for improving our overall well-being. It allows us to reset, mentally manage stress, connect with our bodies, regulate our emotions, and experience the world more fully. By embracing silence, we invite a sense of calm and balance into our lives, fostering greater clarity, peace, and well-being. It's in the quiet moments that we find the space to reconnect with ourselves and the world around us, and that is where true healing and growth can take place. In conclusion, silence is much more than just the absence of sound. It is a powerful and transformative force that impacts every aspect of our lives. From helping us to listen more attentively to others and ourselves, to promoting self-awareness, emotional regulation, and mental clarity, silence offers us the space we need to reflect, grow, and evolve. In a world filled with constant noise and distractions, silence provides a sanctuary, allowing us to reconnect with our deepest thoughts, values, and desires. It allows us to pause, breathe, and recalibrate, reducing stress and fostering a deeper sense of well-being. The practice of silence teaches us that sometimes the most profound insights come not from speaking or doing, but from simply being. By embracing silence, we unlock the power of self-reflection, learning to navigate life with more purpose, clarity, and intention. Whether in our relationships, our work, or our personal growth, silence empowers us to listen, think, and act more consciously. So I encourage you to seek out moments of silence in your life not as an escape, but as a tool for transformation. In the quiet, we discover our true selves, deepen our connections with others, and find the peace and wisdom that are often buried beneath the noise of everyday life. Silence, when embraced fully, has the power to change not only our minds, but our lives.